Welcome back to the Illuminated Path Podcast. This is episode 45, and today is a really special and cool new type of episode. So I did a live coaching episode with a woman named Yael, and this episode was really surrounded around her business. So I listened to her questions and concerns and helped guide her through understanding the types of thoughts she's having and beliefs, the struggles that she may be having, and give her some advice and new perspectives so that she can move forward and overcome the challenges that she's currently having. So in this episode, you'll hear us talk about things like procrastination over versus perfectionism, being patient with yourself, and how to find balance between that hustle mentality and being able to slow down and build a business with ease, which is something she very much desires. We also talk about just having intention and rewriting some of the beliefs that she has that come from her past beliefs and her world in working in corporate. So we go through a lot of what her struggles are. I help guide her, and we ultimately come up with some plans at the end to help her move forward in her business. So keep these things in mind as you listen to the episode, and you'll hear the live coaching call. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited to do these types of coaching episodes. If you are interested at all in being coached on the podcast live, you can go to the illuminatedpathpodcast.com and fill out the form on the website to potentially be a guest on the podcast. So now let's get into the coaching call. All right. Thank you so much to Yael for joining me today. It's so nice to have you.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So what can I help you with today? What kind of question do you have, or what are you looking for some guidance on?
So I'm in the process of a pivot in my I guess digital marketing journey or coaching journey. I do have a full-time job, and I've been kind of in the space for the past year, but just in a different niche, and had decided a couple of months ago that I really just needed to pivot away from the niche that I was in, just completely outside of it. And so I'm in the process of kind of figuring out or solidifying, I guess you could say, that next direction.
Okay. So what do you feel is the challenge here for you?
I'm in the process of overcoming it.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is me,
Yeah.
honestly, of kind of getting out of my own way, I
Okay.
guess. And I tend to be too much of a student sometimes, and so I'm trying to the first, I guess when we I don't know, when we first talked, I was just trying to solidify, or like trying to find, exactly who and exactly what I should be doing, right? Like who I
Mm-hmm.
should be speaking to, what I should be talking about, and really digging into myself on like what I'm passionate about and what drives me and what lights me up. And I guess I knew like internally what it does. I've just been having a hard time trying to process how to kind of like package that, right? And deliver it.
Okay.
Um, in a business sense or in a coaching sense or a mentorship sense and all of that. And so for me, it's been through a lot of internal work and manifesting and affirmations and really kind of opening myself up and being more
Mm-hmm.
patient with myself. And giving myself some grace to kind of like allow it to come in and come to me. And I feel like I've made a lot of progress on that. And I sought help. I sought out help from people close to me. I ended up sending a text message to about 20 people, being like, and asking them more so for what people know me to be, right? Like what did they think that they know me to like light me up? What lights me up? What do they come to me for? What do they think other people come to me for? Like who am I to them? Or what friend am I to that group, or what family member am I that people go to for and for what? And so that actually really helped me because I saw a lot of similar kind of like verbiage or concepts,
Mm-hmm.
and it aligned very much with what I felt.
Okay.
And so it's giving me this kind of push to move into that direction. And I feel like now is uh, is is really kind of like not figuring out, but like starting the process of piecing it all together, which brings up other kind of roadblocks for me, I guess, that I'm trying to plow through.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. So what I'm hearing is I heard you say that you feel like you kind of are like a forever student, like you really like to
Yeah,
learn and educate yourself, right?
yeah,
So, and that's amazing, of course, and that I'm sure is very helpful. I love to learn too, and it kind of can help you to build a little bit more confidence, right? Because it's like, okay, now I feel like I know more, and but you can kind of get caught in a loop of always looking
totally.
for the next thing and thinking that maybe that's going to give you the confidence.
Right. Well, the interesting part is like confidence, I don't think is so much I mean, listen, who knows, right? I don't feel as though confidence is my issue.
Okay.
More so, um, I read a quote very recently and it stuck with me so much. Like there's a fine line between perfectionism and procrastination.
Mm,
And it resonated so much because um, I feel like, and I was talking to another digital marketer friend of mine because we're similar in that sense. Like we're both very successful career women, right? And we had to really work our asses off to get to this place, right?
yeah.
And so when you get to that place in whatever position you're in, it's you don't show you're seasoned, right? You're a very well-oiled machine,
Hmm.
and I think kind of setting yourself up to be at a beginning stage of something else it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And so instead of coming out with grace and acknowledgement of like, hey, we're getting started, we're moving and grooving, we're going to figure this out as we go. Like we feel like, no, I got to learn all the things first.
Yeah.
And when I put it all together, it's got to be this perfect puzzle, like this perfect
Uh-huh.
picture, right? Like my social media platforms have to be perfect. My landing pages or my sales funnel has to be perfect. Like all of these things have to like be prepped and ready to go.
Hmm.
And I feel like I kind of overlearn a lot of the times. And I'm finding myself in the place now. Like I said, I've been in this space for about a year and I've seen a lot and I've tried a lot and I've done a lot. And now I feel a little bit of a pressure of like, okay, well, if I'm starting fresh, right?
Yep.
I should be taking all of the things that I know and that I've learned and implementing it. And now I'm kind of scrambling a little bit in this perfectionism state of like, okay, but I know this, right? I already know this. So like now I got to do it really well. And and part of
Yeah.
me wishes I was the me a year ago who didn't know so much and just like just dove right in and was like, well, I'm going to suck anyway. So like, let's just go.
Right. So it's a little bit of like information overload. So now you do have all this information, which is great, but there's that fear of, am I going to implement everything absolutely perfectly? Because, comparing it to your job and your career that you've spent so many years building, and like you just don't have that fear necessarily, right? Like, would you feel like that's
Right.
kind of comparing the two, and just that's what you know, and that's like all you've known, and then doing it on your own and totally different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just that level of wanting to do it perfect, like you've said. And um, do you feel like that is holding you back? Like, what is the next step for you? Like putting yourself out there. Is that the step that
Yeah,
you're kind of pausing on? Like,
I'm, for me, I'm like still, so I stopped posting on my previous social media posts, right, when I was in a different niche. I've
okay.
stopped that about like I guess it's probably like a month or 6 weeks ago by now,
Hmm.
because I knew I was pivoting. And so it didn't make sense to keep showing up there.
Yeah.
And so I started a new account and I'm creating content and it's all in my drafts.
Hmm.
And I actually miss posting content, but I feel like I have to get the back end situated before. And I know that that's not the case. I know that I can start showing up, right? Like I know I can start posting content, creating a community, right? Starting to build that, but I haven't yet. Why? Because now I'm obsessing about like, well, I know like my picture's not right, right? And like I feel like I should at least have like my branding down, right? But
Hmm.
I know that those are the things that are gonna like really have me procrastinate for a long time because I can sit on those things for forever. So I actually just like reached out to somebody on Fiverr, not last night, but the night before, because I was like, you know what? I'm outsourcing this shit. Like
Hmm.
I'm gonna outsource the branding. I'm
Yeah.
gonna outsource, like I'm gonna have somebody like help me with a brand kit, help me with the colors, because I will obsess over this because it's not my wheelhouse.
Okay.
And I don't want, and I feel like I don't want to, sorry, I cuss a lot. I'm gonna try to
You're
not.
fine.
Um, but like I don't want to, yes, I can always change it, but
Yeah.
I'm in that, like, I want to get it right this time, and I know that I will obsess about it. And so I would much rather somebody else obsess about it and then just give me options to choose from.
Yeah.
Cause I know that that's how I work best in my career. Right. Like
Yeah.
you do the thinking for me. I will make the decisions. Right. I, if you're good at your job, then that's how I do my job the best. Right.
Yeah. So I think that's
On certain things.
so I think that's amazing that you ended up reaching out to get your, some help with your branding because, you know, starting a business and being on your own, there are so many things to consider other than
So
just
many
the
things.
thing itself of like what you're an expert in,
Yeah.
right? There is the branding
Yeah.
and the social media and the marketing and all of that. So I think that that was a great choice to outsource what you can. Um, so then you're kind of waiting for that piece to come back. And I think my next question is there something else that you can be doing now while you're waiting for that branding or um
Oh,
I
of
know
course. Yes.
yeah. So
All the things.
so do you have
Well,
kind of like a concrete plan written out for yourself as far as like what the next 30 days looks like or when have you given
no,
yourself like a deadline at all to
no,
okay.
which I need to do that. Like that's,
Yeah.
I need to, because in my career, like I need to, how I am with the people that I work with day in and day out, I need to be with myself, right? Like I
Yeah.
need to hold myself as accountable as I hold other people
Mhm.
and really stick to it. And I know this about myself, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe in giving myself the grace, in giving myself the time to kind of like figure these things out, what I don't want to do is give myself too much time,
Yes.
right? To where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, should I really be doing this? What
Yeah.
am I doing this for? All of that, right? And so, yes, I do need to be a bit more of a hard ass on myself by giving myself deadlines. And as um, yeah, I'm taking like a course and I've stopped at like certain modules because I was like, oh, I don't have that figured out yet. So like, do I even keep going?
Yeah.
Right? Like in this course, if I don't have this figured out yet. And the next thing I know, it's been almost a week since I've like tuned into the course. Why? Because I feel like I have to get like this part of it done according to the course before I keep moving on,
Yeah.
which I don't think that that's the case. And so yes, I need to be more diligent. I need to set smart goals.
Yeah.
I know I do. I know I do.
So I heard you say one thing about being a hard ass on yourself. And do you think you could find a balance between being a hard ass and, having like more specific deadlines and goals that you set for yourself, but also allowing yourself a little more grace and making sure that you are creating this business in a way that isn't overly stressful? Because I'm sure that's not the type of business that you want to create for yourself in the long
No,
run.
yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, everything that I want to create about this business has to do with eventual ease.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my whole life has been hustle. And
Yeah.
so it never bothered me because it's what I've always been used to, but it finally hit me that like, I don't want to do this I don't want to hustle forever. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you feel like there's a little bit of restriction of like seeing this business in a way of, if I do set these deadlines or like make this like very structured plan, which I know is very helpful for me and I know like works because it works in my career, but that it would feel too much like in that hustle mindset, which you don't want.
yeah, I mean, I kind of have that, but I'm also super limited on my time and how
Mm-hmm.
often I can work on it,
Yeah.
right? So it is very much for now, like I'm building it on the side.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I do feel like I do have this somewhat pressure, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
like, if I only have like 2 hours a day to work on it, let's say 5 days a week or 4 days a week or something like that, which I find to be difficult in and of itself because like that it's cutting into the time that I would usually spend with, you name it, my kids, my husband, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So there is somewhat of a pressure of like, okay, well, I don't want it to take 2 years to build.
Right.
Well, I mean to get started, not to build. I'm giving myself, listen, I want to do this for the long haul, so I'm in it for that.
Yeah.
So I'm not mistaken that businesses can take time,
Right.
obviously, but like I don't want it to take that much time to actual build. I'm kind of at the like, I want to hurry up and be there already, which I'm trying to get that out of my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what I'm hearing is a lot of pressure around time. If it's taking too long
Yeah.
or not, you're not putting enough time in it. But if you do put a lot of time in it, it takes away from, just your life and everything. So I
Yeah.
would, I would definitely recommend coming up with some sort of concrete plan with dates, but do it in a way that it doesn't require, like, allow yourself a little bit of extra time. If you feel like you can get something done in a week, but that would be maybe stressful and that would be really pushing yourself and taking away time from your family, like, can you extend that another week and just slowly make progress at it? Work at maybe a little bit of a slower pace than you're used to, but every day knowing that you are making progress and ultimately reaching, each milestone and really launching and putting yourself out there and just really starting to build that momentum in like a really healthy way.
Yeah. I need that
Yeah.
because I'm either 60 miles an hour or 10, right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to find that in between. And I
Right.
also work in New York City, so I'm not used to doing anything at a slow pace, right?
Yeah. So do you feel like
So
there's
there's that.
any sort of fear or belief just around that, like around actually doing something at a slower pace and what that might, you know, result for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to try, and I mean that in itself would be like a huge, just something. If I can like accomplish something, like if I can have accomplishments in a slower pace.
Mhm.
What was I listening to the other day? And somebody was talking about this, and they're like, I think my biggest light bulb that I had was that I actually had to do less,
Yes.
right? Like, instead of like more is more, right? Like, that whole like less is more actually kind of works. And I was like, oh, does it?
Yeah.
That's just so weird to me, right? Because it's just not a concept that I've ever
Yeah. So are
I've
you
ever known to be true.
right? And so that is like your belief. So every action you're wanting to take is like going back to that belief of, well, I have to do it fast. Like I have to hustle even though you don't want to build this business in that same mindset, but that's just kind of what you've always known. So of course it's like definitely a little weird and you're like, is that actually possible? Um
Yeah.
and as far as the like doing less and really slowing down, a lot of that are you kind of familiar with like the masculine and feminine energies at all? Because I would say like the doing mentality and like always like the tasks and like the list and the to-dos and go, go, go and like really feeling like you're productive and accomplished is a very like masculine energy, whereas doing
I'm all
less,
masculine energy.
yes.
I'm all masculine energy.
I can absolutely relate to that. And that's something that I have, worked on a lot with myself. And some of it is doing less. And it's like hard to grasp that concept. Well, doing less doesn't feel like anything's been getting done. But some of that is really taking the time with yourself to be in your body and remind yourself of these things. Like, yes, I'm making progress and going at a slower pace is going to set me up for success in the long run. And so sometimes the doing is maybe sitting with yourself for 20 minutes and journaling about it, like really getting into your body about it, getting into your mind about it, and not necessarily every single time you want to work on your business, it doesn't always have to be like, I have this big task list that I need to get
Right.
done because if I don't do that, I'm not making progress.
Oh my gosh. You hit the nail on the head. I know.
Yeah. It's sometimes, I think that that would be really helpful for you is even setting time aside. Like if you come up with this big plan for your business of like, at least give yourself like a deadline for whatever the next step is, right? But
Mhm.
build into that like a couple of days. You don't have to go overboard, but whatever is comfortable for you to be like, I'm not actually going to physically sit down at my computer and, get social media posts done or work on my branding. Like you're going to just sit with yourself and envision what you're working on, what's going to happen at the end of this when you do launch this thing, or like just really sitting with yourself and allowing yourself to slow down and recognize all of the work that you are putting into it and what will come of it.
Mm.
How does that feel for you?
Uh, It, it feels foreign,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Yeah, I
It feels
totally
very
understand that.
foreign. It does. It feels very foreign. Because I'm so used to like I do 20,000 different things and I play 20,000 different roles.
Yeah.
And the thing is like people are always saying to me, like, you're a superwoman. Like, I don't know how you do it. 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 And I'm like, I don't know. I just do.
Hmm.
Right. But then, and I realize like, I, you know, I get a lot of things done. I check all the boxes. I even like put stuff on my list that isn't on my list and check it off right away because it feels good to me.
Yes. Yep.
I'm that
Yep.
person.
Hmm.
And I just and I don't know what that would look like. I honestly don't. It's like it's almost kind of like a I don't know. I don't know what words are coming to me like lazy. Like it's not lazy because I
Mm.
know that something like that could work, right? But it's like, okay, but I want to be efficient,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just the gnawing sense that I'm getting even just thinking about it.
Right.
Just like, oh my God, it'll take me forever.
Yeah. I absolutely understand everything that you're saying. And I
So
think,
then how did you do it then? If you had like a super masculine energy around it, like
mhm. So
what did that look like for you?
it really, for me, and I was going to, recommend to you too, is like actually setting intentional time to make myself sit down and either, listen to a meditation, listen to a podcast, even like something giving you inspiration, going to a yoga class or going for a walk. Even walks are one of my favorite things. And you can even be productive on a walk, like thoughts and ideas and creativity, like all of that really comes to me when I'm walking. And so it doesn't feel like you're sitting down at a desk and getting things done, but there can still be progress made, but you have to be really intentional. Like I would set a couple of days where I would say, okay, 2 days a week is time for me to really get purposeful, get into my body and be present about it, thinking about things and just kind of working on those beliefs too. A lot of times I would journal during that time. So again, you can make progress, and you have to get out of that mindset of it doesn't feel like it's progress. It's just progress in a different way. And I would definitely
Yeah.
recommend to start to implement practices like this and in a way that is comfortable for you, because if you, really show up and launch your business and get into it and it's like it's finally, it's moving and it's great, but you still haven't made those practices to slow down, it's gonna
Yeah.
that'll still continue to come up for you because you haven't started to practice to slow down. So I think this is the perfect time to start to
Yeah.
really intentionally set some time for yourself to slow down and remind yourself, I am productive. Like this is truly productive for my business. And that will help you get out of the mindset and the belief of like, well, this is just making it go slow or this really isn't contributing.
Well, I think it's such an interesting kind of parallel or like light bulb moment that I just had
Yeah.
in something that you said was like, well, if part of your intention of this business that you're starting is more ease,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like starting a business of ease off in a state of chaos doesn't
Yes.
make sense, right?
Yeah.
So like if you start it in chaos, then it's going to continue in chaos,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
There's always going to
and
be more
so,
to do.
well, that's just business in general, but
Right.
like, but a different approach to
Mm-hmm.
it, which I guess I've never thought about or realized, and nor would I have like thought could be possible or true
Yeah.
even just a couple of months ago. Right? Like
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit, but okay, we'll try it. Right? But not,
Well, that's incredible that, you even recognize that you've gotten that far now to be able to accept that suggestion from me and say, okay, maybe like that does actually sound right. And
yeah,
like you're saying, like you're starting this business and wanting to cultivate more ease. So be very intentional about having that at the start of your business because that is the way you're going to grow everything. And then it just gets easier with more time. So it's almost like you have to schedule yourself a to-do list to do less and really make sure you stick to it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, how does that all feel for you? And is there any kind of last questions that I might be able to help you with?
I'm actually I'm writing this down so I don't, so I
Beautiful.
don't forget. Well, I'm definitely going to look into more like masculine versus feminine energy and how to
Yeah.
bring more feminine energy in. And that's probably going to be a totally different method of my practice.
Yeah. It's very
Now.
helpful. I would be very curious to hear kind of how that all resonates with you because I definitely from the sounds of it, it definitely sounds like you're in more of your masculine. I've absolutely been there myself. So, yeah, and it's
So do
just a
you feel more
practice.
like balanced, or do you feel like more of a balance between masculine and feminine, or do you feel like you've embraced more feminine
I feel more of a balance now.
energy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's real like
Yeah.
it's not like letting go of that, that have to, the to-do list and the tasks and getting into it and being productive. Like I'm not saying like let go of that completely. There's a time and place where that's the mindset for that day and that's very helpful. And then, another time, it's to be more in your feminine, and just overall in life, not even in business. There are different ways
Yeah.
that you can kind of start to try to be a little bit more in that feminine energy and slow down, like really start to slow down and practice more of that ease that you are, again, like really creating and building in your business. And the more that you learn yourself in all of this, that you're working on yourself with all of it, is just going to come out into your business, and you'll be able to help others with it too.
Oh my gosh. Ding, ding.
Love it.
Thank you. Yeah, for
Beautiful.
sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that I can
Thank
help you
you.
with?
Yeah, careful what you ask for, because that'll be another 2 hours. I don't know if there's enough time. But
Well,
we can definitely follow up for sure. Thank you so much. This was really very insightful
yeah,
indeed.
you're so welcome. It was lovely to have you, and yeah, I'll
Yeah,
be in
thank you.
touch.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks, my dear. Okay, take care.
You too.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.